Ben, I know we just talked to you weeks ago leading up to Didi's trading debut, and now we're seeing the company slapped with more of a regulatory overhang. Your reaction to the latest moves from Beijing?
Wasn't unexpected based, again, on what was disclosed in the prospectus, but I think the timing is a little bit surprising. The narrative around the Chinese markets, particularly I think in the West, is that this is a command and control economy, and the reality is that we are significantly under-regulated. Didi was a technology company that is very much front and center in the public mind. It's something that a high degree of consumers use, and it had several failings over the last couple years that compromised public trust on the more kind of front end facing of it, and now the back end, the data side, also under scrutiny, and something that the Chinese government said they were going to take action on and have just at a surprising time.
Yeah, and the rationale from regulators, Ben, was that this was aimed at securing and ensuring data security and national security. Do you think those claims are justified?
I certainly think that user privacy has always been an issue in China. There's always been kind of this Faustian bargain between convenience and ease of use, with handing over vast amounts of personal data without necessarily full jurisdiction over that. And so it's certainly something that the public has raised, and the Chinese government, I think, is starting to act on it. And again, under-regulated, this type of action we expected, and I think there's more of it to come.
Ben, David here. I guess, many people have told us you take a longer-term view. I mean, these are companies that are pretty much growing still like startups. I mean, they're obviously, in some cases, hundreds of billions, one obviously closer to about $1 trillion. From an investor point of view, do you think this affects longer-term growth trajectories?
I don't think it does. I think you have to pick your spots. So, for instance, as a firm, we avoided the education space throughout our entire existence because it's always been a bit of a gray zone. It's highly sensitive, and so we steer clear of that. And I think a lot of investors have taken a similar approach to try to avoid those industries where there is a clear path towards increased regulation. There are some, again, where the growth prospects and the scale are just too large to ignore, like food delivery or ride-hailing in this extent. But I think you can pick your spots, and staying away from some of the financial services sectors, as well as education and other consumer-facing areas, are a good bet.
Right. Now, it takes us back to Didi, and I'm glad Yvonne brought up that question. Of course, they did an IPO. They listed last week at a valuation pretty much which was same valuation as 2019. Take us through what happens then, you think, in the private markets in terms of those valuations.
On the private market side, again, sector by sector. So I think we're seeing a lot of exuberance around certain areas like last mile delivery, grocery, a wide array of areas. And so as a result, I think many of those will escape this, and I don't think we'll see a significant impact on the private market side. Public markets are a lot more fussy, and so in the end of the day, we could see an across-the-board drop as a result of this. But again, I think if you look at Didi alone, the impact on their business will be minimal. 550 million users now in the system. None of them are losing access to the app. And again, the story of Didi was going to be deeper revenue penetration. So in their instance, I think that while this is a bit of a shocking headline, the longer-term prospects for the business remain strong.
Ben, ultimately, though, what's the message for foreign investors invested in Chinese companies longer term? And on top of that, what does this mean for tech entrepreneurs? Does it make them nervous seeking capital outside of China?
I don't think it really affects the source of capital. I think certainly it hammers home to entrepreneurs within China, and it's obviously something that we have encouraged in our portfolio, that you seek active dialogue with the regulators, that you stay very much in step with them. I think there was a lot of kind of jungle rules and skirting of regulations and attempts to build and apologize later, not asking for permission. And I think hopefully that trend will reside, and then entrepreneurs will seek active dialogue with those regulators as they work to build those businesses in lockstep with them.